Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to The Walk. Today is Sunday, October 15th, and we are still in Galatians 3. I suspect we will be in Galatians 3 all the way through until Friday. And what we've been looking at is the fact that Paul has been pointing out to these Galatian Christians. Well, let me back up. The Galatian Christians were trying to say that salvation was brought to people through their works by obeying the law and following all those rules and being very rule regimented, very rule governed. Everybody's got to follow these rules. That's how salvation happens. That's what the Galatians were teaching. And Paul is writing this letter basically to say, no, that's not the truth. That's not how salvation happens. We have the righteousness of Jesus Christ. It is a gift of grace when we put our faith in Jesus Christ, and that's how salvation happens. You put your faith and trust in Christ, and that's how salvation happens. And in making this argument, Paul is pointing out the faith of Abraham. And, those Jewish believers and these Christians that are trying to be so rule focused loved to talk about Abraham, but they leaned more towards you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to follow all these procedures, follow all these rules. They didn't like so much to talk about the faith that Abraham had and the fact that his righteousness was counted to him as a result of that faith. The covenant that Abraham had is much more similar to the covenant that we have as followers of Jesus Christ. But when Moses came along, the people were asking for rules. They were asking for a law to follow, and God gave it to them. And he gave it to them using Moses as the catalyst. He handed that law to Moses. Moses then taught the people about it, and that's where that law came from. Why am I giving you all this background? Well, we took a day off, so it may not be fresh in your mind, but you need to have that background in order to understand where these next few verses are coming from. And today we're reading a few of them. And they start on verse 15, and it says, "To give a human example, brothers, even with a man-made covenant, no one annuls it or adds to it once it has been ratified." So even with a covenant that's between two people, no one adds to it, no one takes away. Once it's been sealed, signed, and that's it. We've decided it, it's been ratified. Now the promises were made to Abraham and to his offspring. Now the promises were made to Abraham and to his offspring. It does not say, and to offsprings, referring to many, but referring to one, and to your offspring, who is Christ. This is what I mean. The law, which came 430 years afterward, does not annul, doesn't cancel out a covenant previously ratified by God so as to make the promise void. And he's referring to the promise that was given to Abraham. For if the inheritance comes by the law, it no longer comes by promise. But God gave it to Abraham by a promise. So it's very interesting to see how this starts off. Well, first of all, he addresses them as brothers. He's saying, I'm coming to you as a fellow brother. We are brothers because we both believe in Jesus Christ. We are brothers because we have this common ground, even though I'm trying to correct some false teaching that's happening here. And then it also says, I speak in the manner of men. So what does he mean here? He's saying, I'm talking about a man-made covenant. And that man-made covenant does not get broken. It does not get added to. It does not get taken away. So why on earth would a God-made covenant get added to, broken, or taken away? And he's saying, Abraham and his seed, now point out, seed is one, his offspring, one, is, it was promised in Genesis 22:18, and God promised Abraham that his offspring one offspring. All the nations of the earth will be blessed through one offspring. Who is that offspring? It's Jesus Christ. And through that, all of it is blessed. And then it says, where does it say it? The law came 430 years after. So first we had the covenant made with Abraham, and that was grace given. His faith made him righteous. It was grace given. Then the law comes along, and then Jesus Christ comes along. Jesus Christ is the fulfillment of the law. It brings us back into that grace that we had all the way back here in the beginning with Abraham. It brings us back to that. So we've got a few comparisons here, okay? The Jewish people that want the people to follow these rules, these regiments, the law, and get stuck in that works-based salvation, they want to quote Moses. Paul is quoting Abraham, who came before Moses. They're trying to appeal to this century, these hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years of tradition and the proud history of Moses. And Paul is saying, but there's more history in Abraham. Abraham was there 430 years before Moses and the law happened. And that promise of grace still stands. We can stand on that promise of grace even today. Have a wonderful day. God bless, and keep walking the walk.